Even more predictions were revealed on national radio. But this next event was more terrifying than many could have imagined.
I was flabbergasted by the data I got as a result of remote viewing the next X day in Tokyo, because this reactor problem, a reactor breaking, and what I said to the Japanese, I said, and on national radio in my country, this is going to be at least a mini Chernobyl, at least a mini Chernobyl. So again, what I said on national radio in my country, because the Japanese would not want to scare their citizens with this knowledge, was that Japan's going to experience, and when they experience this big earthquake, this next big earthquake, Tokyo will be okay, but this reactor problem will cause at least a mini Chernobyl.
But their breeder reactor is going to break, causing essentially another Chernobyl.
Ed, is that a double containment type reactor?
It is, but it doesn't matter.
How big an earthquake are you talking about?
We're talking about a pretty big earthquake. These reactors in Japan are designed to take earthquakes up to about 7.8 without even breaking.
Right.
And so we're talking about a real catastrophic earthquake, a very big shaker that does not do a lot of damage to Tokyo. We know, for instance, we believe, based upon our work, and have described this for the Japanese viewing audience, the large modern skyscrapers standing.
On March 11, 2011, this tragic prediction came to pass. A massive 8.9 earthquake struck off the coast of Japan, resulting in a tsunami that swept across the Japanese landscape, engulfing entire towns. Just as Ed Danes predicted, power plants were damaged, resulting in the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. As the world watched these predictions come to pass, the inevitable question followed: how much time do we have left until the kill shot is upon us?
The time problem is a big bugbear. We can see an event. I used to see loosely. We can perceive big events, all of these types of big events, in the future, just like one could see a big mountain range in the future. You can see it ahead, but we don't have the parallax in terms of an analogy. We don't have the parallax vision to adjudge the distance to this big mountain. We can only guess it. There's a very similar situation we have in remote viewing. We can perceive these events ahead, but we can't adjudge the distance in time. So it's still a big problem for us. That's why we had to go through this nut roll about looking at the preceding events that lead up to this huge catastrophic disaster on Earth. When is this going to happen? Because that's the big one. That's the big question. When is it going to happen? So much time has been dedicated by remote viewers, my team and others, individuals, to attempt to discern this. And again, since mind is outside of time, we cannot put a calendrical date on the beginning of this sequence. But what we've done over the years is establish preceding events, large, recognizable preceding events that lead up, that we can see, are dominoes that lead up to the beginning of this kill shot sequence.
Many of these preceding events have already come to pass, including the shot across the bow, the killer crop fungus, and the Japanese disaster. But what else do viewers foresee coming over the horizon?
We picked up the use of a nuclear weapon on the Korean Peninsula by the North Koreans, and this event would be one of the last events that humans recognize before the kill shot sequence begins. We haven't seen that yet.
This prediction was revealed years ago to the public on the Coast to Coast AM radio show. At the time, the nation had zero nuclear capability, and the notion that they would use a nuclear weapon as an act of war was widely believed to be absurd.
As time went on, the idea and the first nuclear test happened in North Korea. That got the attention of a lot of people who had heard my prediction, saying, "Uh-oh, I hope he's not right. That was just a test." But they are certainly developing. We know now. we have remote viewed the fact that they're developing at least atomic mines, underwater mines, against U.S. subs. We know that as remote viewers. And we know that they're going to pop a nuke in anger because that event was so big. It's not a little epiphenomena like a baseball game or something like that. It's a big event in history. We're not prophets. We're not prophesying. We're just using remote viewing to look that way in a particular direction at the particular topic. And it's just like turning your telescope onto and focusing it onto a particular target and studying it. That's what we do. We choose the targets.
The North Korean prediction appears capable of coming to pass any year now. But there is another event that remote viewers fear the most, a sign that the kill shot is imminent.
What would be that final recognizable event just prior to the kill shot sequence? The best that we could come up with, pushing ahead, the best that we could come up with was what appeared to be a space shuttle being forced down by what appears to be a meteor shower or something like that. For those of you who are not remote viewers, let me give you a little bit of insight into what remote viewing is in terms of a skill set. Most of the information that we derive from the target is in terms of word idea concepts, patterns of information that we perceive and turn into word, search our memory for words and apply those words, a written word on a piece of paper, and move on. The information we had that led us to believe that we're dealing with a space shuttle as a final precursor event to space shuttle coming down, as a final precursor event to the kill shot, was a collection of those rough sketches. So analytically, we're saying it looks like the space shuttle coming down.
As a result, there had been some confusion by not only the public, but also many remote viewers. The session sketches generated had resulted in the assumption that the craft being forced down was a U.S. space shuttle, since it was unique to the world at the time of the prediction.
Our sketches and drawings look like the current, very similar to the current U.S. space shuttle vehicles. There are some variations among viewers too, but we know that the Air Force has another program now, a nascent program. I think it's a spy vehicle that's up there, a maneuverable vehicle. That particular vehicle also looks like the U.S. space shuttle, the manned space shuttles.
Today, the recent U.S. space shuttle design is being emulated by many different space agencies around the globe, both government-oriented and private. No longer is the design unique to the U.S. space program, but the precursor itself remains the same. When a shuttle-like craft is forced down from orbit, the kill shot will begin.
When you see these particular events happen, that last one in particular, we don't know how much longer it will be until the kill shot, because mind is outside of time. The best that we could do is say this event is the last big one that you'll see as remote viewers before this kill shot sequence happens. Regardless of how long it is, that period between this shuttle event and the beginning of the kill shot sequence, we know as viewers, and I have personally viewed this particular event on a number of times because it's so powerful, that all of these warring parties that we see on the planet, all these many wars, that on the ground, all of these soldiers look up in the sky. They all look up. So something is happening in the sky. In fact, there's probably unprecedented atmospheric effects that in a recorded history, perhaps an unrecorded history, there's been events like this, but nothing in recorded history. Something happens in the atmosphere that has not been seen before, because all these soldiers are looking up, and then they go home. Their priorities change. They go home. So that's when it starts. This kill shot sequence will cripple communications worldwide. It will take out satellite communications in a very short order. power grids. We're all aware of what it will do to the power grids and what it has done in the past. And in certain instances, go back and check it out. The power grids will go down. There's many, many people over many months of time, and throughout the world will have no power. There are cities without power and communication. You can figure out for yourself what that will mean too. Not only will you not be able to pump gas, not only will you not be able to pump water, not only will there not be food on the shelves because there'd be no gas in the trucks to take the food to the cities, but I could go on and on. You can figure the rest out for yourself. That's why this concept of sanctuary, knowing where to go with your last tank of gas, is so important. There are some tangential effects that we're picking up also as remote viewers and have picked up over the years. Apparently, the center of the Earth, the core of the Earth, is changing rapidly as an effect of what is happening on the sun. And if that's the case, then we're probably looking at, as an adjunct to effect to the killshot sequence, we're probably looking at massive volcanism and earthquakes as well. And I think it's very important to point out, and very important indeed, because of the adiabatic heating of the atmosphere, we're going to have very high winds in many parts of the Earth. The sky, the sun, the light will be obscured. It will be very difficult to grow crops on the surface because of both winds and lighting conditions. Solar physicists were chewing their nails because they were very, very concerned that the sun had been very quiet for so long and this was not predictable. And so because it was not predicted, it did not follow the solar cycle, they were afraid that the sun might be doing something erratic. And that's when we began to see in the press and the news all these warnings about what major solar flares would do to the planet, to communications, to power grids, etc. And then in the last few months, we've seen that the sun's been relatively quiet. And now the scientists are saying, well, maybe the sun is going into a long period, years of quiescence. It's going to quiet down, and that's what we're seeing. And that might create global